This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast. Excited to have you along for the ride tonight. We've got all sorts of stuff coming to you here this evening. Joe Masullo going to be joining us here in a few minutes. Got to get everybody to unmute their mics at home. So there we go. Joe's unmuted and Jason's unmuted, so we should be good to go. Joe's joining us here via the there we go. We got everybody tuned in now. Everybody's dialed in and where they need to be. There's Jason. He's hanging out at home. Joe is on the line as well. Joe had sold his Dragster and he's bought a Corvette that we've talked a little bit about before. So we're going to get into that a little bit as he jumps out of the Western New York Quick 16 and now moves over into Super Ride competition. So we're looking forward to that conversation with Joe. Like we said, he's waiting in the wings. Jason, there's Jason. Good luck at Jason coming to you straight from the bridge of the Star Cruiser Oldfield. Thanks for joining us here, man. Appreciate it. Glad you've recovered since last time we tried this.
Yeah, hey, it's good to be on again. It's interesting, I guess, the Zoom thing worked really well for us last time, so I'm glad we're able to do it again this time. I figured I would just try a slightly different remote location compared to my home office. Some people don't have to look at my my messy office at home, and can instead look at my, my home away from home on the bridge of the Empire, Star Destroyer. So
while you're out there, get a selfie with Perseverance while you're out there.
What was that?
I said while you're out there, grab a selfie with Perseverance.
Yes, I'll try. So yeah, hopefully it's not too distracting for people. Like I said, I always hate my messy office. I love my messy office, but I don't necessarily know that it's other people want to look at it. So we'll try this for the show.
It's organized for you. The problem is it doesn't make a good backdrop, does it?
It's very busy, unfortunately. So yeah, this is definitely a little bit less busy, hopefully. And like I said, makes it a little bit nicer for the viewer at home that watching to kind of concentrate on the show itself and not looking at all the crap in the background.
Sure. Well, Joe's waiting in the wings there as well. We appreciate you making some time for us here tonight, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you have bought a Roadster Corvette that I understand formerly belonged to Jennifer Gunther.
I have, yes.
How exciting is this? Changing things up a little bit.
Oh, say that again, I'm sorry?
How exciting is this? You get to change things up a little bit.
It's very exciting. I was trying to get Jason to build me a car for a very long time. My friend Jason Vitez, and he just, he didn't have the time. So finding this car was, it was like a dream come true, actually.
How did this come about, Joe? I guess, as long as I've known you, you've had the Dragster. So I guess, what really was it that precipitated the decision that, I guess we'll call it, I'm bored of the Dragster and it's time for me to move into Roadster and go super gas racing?
Well, to be honest with you, I've always wanted one. I love my Dragster. I love going fast.
Joe,
Are you there?
Yep, everything's good.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I've always wanted one. I couldn't afford to have two race cars, and it was the fact that I tried to sell the Dragster after, a couple of years, and everything kind of just, came together with, a friend of mine bought my motor and transmission. A guy from Pittsburgh came to look at the car and actually bought the car, and then this deal kind of came about because Jason wanted me off of his back because I was, beating him up pretty good for a few years to build me a car, and he just honestly just doesn't have the time to build a race car for me,
Sure.
So it kind of just all came together, and honestly, I knew of the car, but I didn't know that the car was still local. I didn't know they still own the car, and I honestly didn't even know that the car was for sale. It was just, like I said, Vitez kind of put the deal together, and we went out there and looked at it, and everything worked out, and here we are.
Yeah, well, see, I didn't know that Jennifer was looking to sell the car either. I mean, I can definitely understand. I mean, we've had Jennifer on the show before as a guest, actually in the studio, and I've known the Gunther family for a long, long time, and unfortunately, Jennifer has been really suffering from Lyme's disease for quite a while, and I know she just got back from Mexico, doing another type of treatment where I think it's hyperthermia, where they raise your overall core body temperature. They basically put you in a coma and essentially raise your body temperature to an elevated point. And she had a treatment like this previously in Germany where that worked out fairly well for a short period of time. But I know that this particular facility she was going to was taking it to another extreme, if you will. And I think in the end it was between the Lyme's disease and the treatment and all the rest of that, and her concentrating on the career and the beauty salon that she owns now. It was like, hey, I have this great car, this great piece that's basically just sitting there not being used. And I can understand the need to sell it, but or the desire to sell it, but I didn't realize that it was for sale either. And when I saw that you bought it, I'm like, man, he got himself a really, really nice piece. So, I mean, did you buy the car complete? Is that how you bought it?
Yeah. We actually bought it just the way she raced it. We went to just the way she raced the car is how I took the car. The only, stipulation her dad had was, when you get this car, you better paint this car because I don't want to see this car. I don't think the car was ultimately really for sale, but I guess it's just one of them deals where the car sat more than it did anything. And I know Jennifer was kind of concentrating on the Top Sportsman thing, so so that's kind of how it all panned out. Yeah,
I would say, that is the other thing too, is that Jennifer had started driving the Chevy 2 that they own as well, and racing in 470 with that, and doing pretty well with that too. So that I'm sure factored into it as well. It's like, look, I mean, you're so busy. When you have the opportunity to race, it's like, why not race the Nova that we have, and just off the Corvette Roadster. Now the car that you just bought from Jennifer, who built that car?
That car was built by Advanced Chassis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that car has a small block in it, right?
It does, yes, sir.
And
so that's another thing I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm looking forward to kind of cutting it back a little bit, and so it'll be fun.
I would say, now that's the interesting thing from my perspective, is that you don't often see people like yourself go from the big block like you had in the Dragster to the small block. I mean, any real concerns with that, or I mean, was that something that you really wanted to try, or I mean, why not keep the big block, I guess, and put that in the Corvette Roadster, right? That's what everybody does.
Well, I needed every penny I could get my hands on this car. So I basically, the big thing was with the Dragster is I tried to sell the car turnkey. Greg Curl actually owns the motor and transmission out of my Dragster now. It was kind of just, he hurt the one that was in his car, and he wanted to finish the year out, and he called me, and we worked the deal out, and Greg took the engine, and literally 2 days later, guy come up from Pittsburgh and bought the Dragster. I mean, it was just crazy kind of how the whole thing panned out. And then within a week, me and Jay took our ride out to Livonia there to the Gunther's place, and it all just panned out, So, but yeah, I mean, in the small block thing, to be honest with you, it's my roots. It's where I started. I had a small block, and I mean, going fast with the Dragster was a lot of fun, and to just take, to do what I'm going to do, I think it'll work out great, and we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Now, and Chris, certainly feel free to hop in here at any point, right? But in my mind, this is a great segue that you just kind of set us up for, Joe. So how did you get started? I mean, honestly, I only remember you racing with the Dragster. So what was your actual start in drag racing in general?
Well, when I was young, I mean, I'll put it this way: that my
when you were
racing.
Young, I think you're 15 years younger than me. So
yeah, I'm going to be 40. I'm going to be 40 this year. So my racing roots kind of started back when I'll say my dad and my uncle's racing on Ohio Street in South Buffalo here, and that's kind of like in a nutshell. It's how my whole family kind of met, you know. But me personally, I grew up around it. My father and my uncle Donnie and my uncle Ernie was involved with it a bit. They built a '69 Nova pro street car. When I was 16, my dad passed away. The car was left to me. I really, really wanted to go racing, and I worked and everything. I just started and off I went. So I did have a '69 Nova till I actually sold that car, traded it away, and I had a Spitzer Dragster for a couple of years. And my father-in-law let me drive his 4-link Dragster, and that was kind of like the needle in the arm. I wanted to go fast after I drove that car, and that's when the Eddie car come along, and Jake kind of cut that car up and did what he did to it, made it much better. And, one thing led to the next, and here we are today,
Okay, so that's a lot of ground to cover right there. So
it is, and that's how I met my wife, and and a bunch of good friends, obviously,
So your dad's car, the '69 Nova, was that just let's call it a street strip car?
No, it was built as a pro street car. It was like a back half car.
Okay.
It was a small block deal. It was really just a pro street car that we were going to play along. It was just kind of play around with it at the racetrack kind of deal. It was nothing serious. It evolved over the years. I did, change some stuff with it, and it turned into strictly a race car,
Mm-hmm.
But it was just the point that I wanted to go fast, and and that wasn't the car to do it with,
Right.
So
now was your uncle, you said? Was it your uncle or your father-in-law that offered you the ride in the 4-link?
Father-in-law, Dave Lawler.
Oh, okay. So it was Dave. All right. So now,
Yes.
all right, so this is starting to come together a little bit. Okay. So Dave Lawler is your father-in-law. So Dave you basically said, hey, why don't you try driving my 4-link Dragster?
I don't think it went that route. It was me more begging him, hey, let me drive this thing, and Dave's always had fast cars, and it was, So, and he was, he ultimately, when I got into the dragster stuff, Dave was like my teacher, and it was like, he always said, I don't want to rain on your parade here, but we need baby steps. And that's what we did, and like I said, I had a Spitzer car for probably about 3-4 years, and it was just an old dragster, and I sold it to a guy in Cleveland, and then I got the Eddie Van Halen car.
Yeah, and I will say I honestly don't remember the Spitzer Dragster that you had.
That was I had it for a short time. I really just raced it at Lancaster more than anything.
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny too, with your father-in-law, Dave, I have to say that I didn't really know of Dave until, and this is going to date me, I'm going to say fairly recently. And when I say fairly recently, I'm talking about the last 25 years. That's when I really got to know, your father-in-law a little bit better than what I knew before. But I had seen pictures of a car that he had raced at Lancaster back in the 70s. And when I'd seen the picture, it was within the last year that I saw the picture posted online someplace. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that Dave had been racing that long. But yeah, your father-in-law has been racing at Lancaster for a long time. You can tell him that I'm going to start bugging him about coming on to the show too, to kind of talk about his racing history, because I was really surprised, honestly, at how long he's been racing. It's definitely not, to me, he didn't start racing until it was the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when I really started to know the name Dave Lawler. But he's been on Lancaster way before that.
Yeah. He actually, Dave, built his original Roadster with Mike Boss, and he crashed it. And the one that you see him, that my wife actually drove, that you've seen most recently, that car's been around, I believe, since the late 70s, early 80s, and it's the same car. And he did take a little time off, when he had his family and whatnot, and he did come back out probably, like you said, if my memory is right, late 90s, early 2000s, I'd have to say. Yeah. And he, of course, he raced with Stacy, when she raced the Roadster, he had his Dragster, and then he crashed another Dragster, and that's when he bought the Dan Page car. And I mean, he really pushed hard with that car and really raced a lot. And he did his fair share of winning, but if you have him on the show, you might need a 2-hour segment.
Well, that's okay, because we don't actually have a time limit, so we can go as long as we want. I mentioned to you earlier today, if we keep it to an hour, then Finger Lakes One will actually take us and put us on the community television station too. But the nice thing about being on Facebook and YouTube is that we can go as long as we want. And I forget, Chris could probably chime in here. We had somebody on the show not too long ago where we went close to 2 hours. I remember, you probably remember.
That was when, who was in the studio recently?
Oh, was it somebody we had in the studio?
I thought so.
Oh, that's very possible. If you get me in front of somebody personally and have me talk with somebody, and I could definitely see that conversation going for 2 hours for sure. Was it? Oh God, was it? Chris Carlotta maybe?
It
might have been. Honestly, I got too many windows. I can't go search it up.
We had Ben Height. We had Ben and Chris. I bet that's what it was. We had Ben and Chris and Phil all in the studio at the same time, right? Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably who it was. But we'll get Dave on, and we'll get you on at the same time. We'll have a big party. I mean, get Stacy on too. I mean, she drove the car. She's a drag racer. We'll get them all on at the same time, and
for sure. So I talked to Vitez a little bit on my way home from work, and like I said, Jay's just a busy guy, and to get an hour of his time is, unless it involves beer and steak, it's kind of impossible,
So how did I guess that's an interesting question. So you guys, buying Jennifer's car, and I want to get back. I do want to get back to the Van Halen car too, because it's an interesting car, but. Since we've mentioned Jay, how did the two of you kind of get hooked up? I mean, is it just one of these things that the two of you have known each other for a long, long time? And I mean, my understanding now that you've bought Jennifer's car, that Jay's actually going to drive it.
So, I mean, me and Jay, we've been friends. I've known of Jay, I should say, forever. I mean, he's been at the racetrack as long as anybody. When I was a service manager at Galaxy Auto, Jay was a guy that needed he had a regular full-time job, and he came to work with me, and I mean, we just got along from day one. And from the point that I met him through Bob Bauer, and I mean, today I consider the guy my best friend. I may talk to him every day of the week, but as far as Jay driving the car is concerned, there's more that goes into it than just, I've always wanted Jay to build me one of these things. He obviously doesn't have the time to build the car. Jay wants to build himself a car. So it's just the fact that he put the deal together. Who better to go racing with than Jason Vitez in a Corvette Roadster? And that's just really it. I mean, I do plan on driving, the car, but as far as learning, the super rod deal, super gas deal, that I'm gonna, Jay's gonna teach me. I mean, I'm not, I guess I could just jump in. I'm sure the water's warm, but I rather watch and learn. As you can tell, I mean, I did it with Billy too. I mean, I raced a lot with Lieber, and I had some fun with him. I learned some things that, Billy's a natural, man. He knows his thing. So, and I know that Jay's going to provide the same thing, and just teaching me about a Roadster and setting it up, and in the throttle stop deal. I mean, that's kind of important to me, So
and I will say that not only has Jason done the super rod thing before, but he has had Roadsters before as well. So like I said, I mean, he definitely knows how to set the cars up for sure. I mean, certainly a great guy to partner with. And I mean, for those of those people at home that don't necessarily know, it's like you said, I mean, Billy has driven your dragster, off and on over the last, I don't know, 5 years, I'll say maybe. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't because that you weren't driving as well. It was kind of you've always been one of those guys that with your car, it's like, if you couldn't make it out to the races that weekend, it's like, if there was somebody else, it's like, oh, you want to drive it? Yeah, go ahead and take it. I don't care. Go ahead and, have some fun. And it's actually surprising to me, just because, I won't say that you were completely nonchalant about it. It wasn't like just anybody come along and, go ahead and drive my dragster. But, if there was ever a time that Billy wanted to, take your dragster and go race, you were like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, I can't, I'm too busy, I'm working or whatever. Go race and go win, and send me some money when you're done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as far as so now, let me go back now to the Eddie Van Halen dragster. So that dragster, where did that dragster come from?
So I bought that car out of Chicago. Originally, that car was owned by Bruno Masullo and his father. It changed hands one time in between them and the guy that I bought the car from. Basically, I brought the car home, raced it one season. I won a couple times with it. Loved the car, but it was a hardtail car. It was a hardtail deal. So this was right around the time that Jay started working with me at Galaxy, and it was just, hey, you want to 4-link my race car? Next thing you know, he found some issues in the car, like always, and we had a cockpit, and Jay basically chopped the rest of the car up, and needless to say, I mean, he just made the car better. It was a nice car. Jay made it a great car. I mean, he from what he did with it, it was a car that I could take out, and I had all the confidence in the world in this car. And it was like, I mean, you know how it is. You go to the racetrack and you question your race car. If you lose a round or you don't cut a great light, now you're starting to look at your car. Well, when he was done with that car, I mean, it was like he took all that away from it. I bought what he told me to buy, and I did what he said to do. And it was like, when something didn't go right, I knew it was me, and it wasn't my car. It made it a great car, and it wasn't easy getting rid of it. I'm not going to lie to you, because I put a lot of time and effort and money into that car, and I had a ton of fun with it. But I knew that it was time to move on. And my plan honestly was to take the money from that car, and we were going to take it. And I was ordering all the parts and have them shipped to his house, whether he liked it or not. The parts were going to be in his garage, and he was going to build me a car. But he got out of it. He went and found me one, and he got out of building me a car.
And was your plan, I mean, all along, I mean, when you started, buying parts and doing that type of thing, was your plan to build a Roadster? Is that what you wanted to do?
Oh, yeah, 110%. I mean, like I said, I've been pounding him for the last 5 years to build me a Corvette Roadster, and it's something I've always wanted. And to be honest with you, last year I went to a couple divisional races with Mike Kalin, and just seeing all of them Corvettes there, and just watching the super gas racing, I mean, it really just, it made it worse. I wanted one even worse at that point, so it made me more motivated to try to sell my car and, light the fire under Jay's ass.
That's funny, because honestly, I never knew that about you. I mean, I just always, the dragster, I just always associated you with running a dragster and kind of running, quick 16. And I don't think you never ran Super Comp, did you?
No, I never did, because there was never an opportunity local to do it, and my, me traveling I just don't have that time, to be honest with you, like, the other thing with this car it's just, my dragster was never really fast enough to get into like the real quick stuff, and it was a fast bracket car, and it got to the point where you're going that fast and you're chasing people and driving the finish line it was tough for me. So this car here will be a little bit more, universal, I'll call it. You can do it. Because I mean, here I'd been out at Empire, and I these guys put a quick hot rod race together, a quick super rod race together, and it's like you can't be involved in that. And and then I do see guys out there that are racing, them classes, and they're doubled into the bracket deal, and it's like, man, they're getting all their money out of their car, and I want to do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and of course, you know, we got the junior car now, so we got a dragster in the family still.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, like I said, there's the doubling aspect of it for sure. But, there's definitely, we've talked about this on the show previously, from a bracket racing standpoint, there's definitely a trend now. What we had seen, let's call it over the previous 20 years, is that people were going faster and faster and faster. And what we're generally seeing now is that there's a trend where guys, I think, have potentially decided that there's a real sweet spot with regards to how fast a car you should have when you want to go be in a bracket race. And it's amazing to me the number of guys that are running cars bracket racing wise that are running between 590 and 650 in the 8th mile type of standpoint. And people are getting away from the dragsters. They're getting away from ultra fast door cars and stuff like that, and trying to kind of settle into that, like I said, 590 to 650 range. And it's really surprising to me, just because of the overall trend that was over the previous 20 years, was you want to go as fast as you possibly can. So from your standpoint, like I said, it gets hard. Once you start, you're racing bracket racing a dragster, or you're bracket racing a dragster, you're driving a dragster, and you're racing against now a car that runs 7.0 in the 8th mile. It's going to be really hard to try to judge. It's going to be just as hard to judge that car when you're chasing as it is being chased, right? There's no advantage there. From that standpoint, being middle of the pack there from a ET and speed standpoint probably isn't going to hurt you as far as being competitive at an overall bracket race.
Sure. Yeah. I agree. I just plan on doing a little bit more racing with this car than I did with a dragster. It just, it got to the point with the dragster where it was just, again, it wasn't a fast car to jump into a quick 16 with. It got into the show, but it wasn't the fastest car there. But again, this car here is, it just got tough to go there. You'd be there on a Saturday and you raced a car that went 690. I mean, it was tough for me to judge the finish line, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun doing it, and but this new deal here should be a lot of fun. So,
well, I will go on record as saying that I was totally okay with allowing dragsters in the Western New York Super Rod Association, even though it didn't fit within the overall guidelines of the class. But I've had people approach me and ask me, "Hey, can we run with you guys?" And unfortunately, it was like, well, I don't care personally, because index racing is index racing. You want to index race and you want to slow your dragster down to be able to go 630 in the 640 in the 8th, that's fine with me. But I knew that not everybody would be on board with that. Now that you have the Roadster, you'll be able to come race with us, hopefully.
For sure.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to that. Now, do you guys plan, other than, let's call it, bracket racing locally and racing with the Western Super Rod Association, do you plan on doing any traveling with the car as well?
So right now I am going to go to Norwalk with the car for the PDRA race. I got a little weekend kind of thing with my family. We're going to do the Kalahari thing. It's Memorial Day weekend, so I want to go there anyways and watch the racing. The Bowers are going to be there racing their car, so I kind of look forward to seeing them guys there. If Jay comes, I mean, obviously we can, I don't know that Jay's going to go. I plan on racing the car that weekend. I would love to try to do like Lebanon or Norwalk. That honestly, I mean, that would be getting Jay involved and going and letting Jay drive the car. I obviously don't have enough seat time for something like that.
Yeah.
But again, his time is so limited with his with his kids. Obviously, Zach's a little bit older now and a little bit more free, but he does, he still has Logan and Brooke at home where they, they're full-time jobs too,
Yep.
As you know. And so if we do something like that, the plan is to let Jay drive, but that's the extent of it,
I would say, I mean, overall, my traveling day, I won't say my traveling days are done. I still would like to go away. I know that there's the fling race at Columbus this year that I'd like to potentially try to hit. So, I mean, that's for me, that's the one that I'd like to try. And I probably shouldn't, quite honestly, but hopefully it's late enough in the season that at this point I'll have enough seat time back in my Corvette that I'll feel comfortable in it and be halfway decent at bracket racing. Because here we're talking about kind of switching classes, right? You're talking about going from being a bracket racer to being a superclass racer, and I'm basically talking about doing the opposite. And at one point in time, top bulb racing, I was okay, but it's been so long since I've really done it on a regular basis. It's like at this point, every time I make a time trial, I find myself getting up on the converter too early and, making staging errors. And it's funny how once you get into a class and you get into that, that routine, that you just become very, very comfortable. And that's certainly the case with Jay, right? That he's been doing, pro tree racing for as long as he has, that he can hop in any car and instantly be competitive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I plan on learning. And honestly, you'll be fine. It's like riding a bike. Once you do it a little bit more, you'll be a fierce competitor.
Right. Now I'm curious. I always meant to ask you, and never got an opportunity to. So let's call it the Eddie Dragster. Was that a paint scheme that you had the Dragster painted?
No, actually it's not. And the car came that way. And
so anybody that doesn't know, the Dragster was painted like Eddie Van Halen's iconic guitar. So that's how it looked. You could immediately look at the Dragster and be like, I knew exactly what that was, right?
Yeah.
It was cool. I have to say, I've never seen another car painted that way. I don't know, maybe you have, but
no. You want to know what's funny is I was actually that race that Wes Buck puts on, the one out in Denver, is it? Where just the pro mods were there. I don't know if you're. So I'm watching it, and there was a guy there with a blown Dragster with the same paint job.
Oh, no kidding.
So needless to say, Facebook makes the world a small world. So I ended up getting a hold of this guy. I'm like, hey, man, how did you come up with this paint job? And I sent him some pictures of my car, and Rod Burke designed that paint job. And he said, I Googled cool paint jobs for Dragsters on Google, and I seen this one, and we painted my Dragster like it. And I go, well, no kidding. So I showed him the pictures of my car, and that was the only other car. But, I was never really a big Eddie Van Halen fan. And to be honest with you, when I brought that car home, if the guy I bought it from didn't say to me, hey, this is thing's painted like Eddie Van Halen's guitar, I wouldn't have known. And
oh, really?
No. And the funny thing is we named the car Eddie, and my buddy Steven Sell actually named the car Eddie, and we had Dan the Signman letter it up, and it was a cool deal, and the car had its own personality, and there were so many people that like they just liked the car, and it wasn't uncommon for people to want to take pictures with this thing, and to me it was kind of a cool deal. I liked it. So
yeah, no, it was a very cool deal. Did you ever think about repainting the car? If you really weren't an Eddie Van Halen fan, or a Van Halen fan in general, did it cross your mind to repaint the car to something different?
It did. I actually had Justin O'Brien put a couple different drawings together, and I was actually gonna, before the car sold, the plan was I was gonna paint my car and the kids' Junior to match each other, and it just never happened, And it wasn't that I obviously I didn't like it. It was just I wanted to change it up a little bit,
Yeah.
But now the kid that bought the car actually loves it, and I kind of told him the story behind everything and he's like, oh man, I can't wait to draw the attention kind of deal, So it was cool. He'll enjoy that car.
I would say when Eddie unfortunately passed away, did the value of the car go up because of the of the paint scheme?
No, but my phone did go crazy. It was like I was the number one Eddie Van Halen fan in the country, right. And my phone went nuts, and I'm like, I was never a big Van Halen fan. So
now where did that car go?
That car is in Pittsburgh. A kid named Brandon Butler bought it, and Brandon actually has some local ties here. He when I first talked to him, he said to me, by any chance, do you know someone named Tyler Helene? And I said, I sure do. And this kid actually raced juniors with Tyler and Robert Fowler and a couple other kids. So he's got some local ties here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, like I said, you still have a dragster in the family. So your son Colin did he start racing last year or was it 2 years ago?
He started racing last summer.
It was last summer. So
he actually got the car roughly, we're coming up on a year where we surprised him at the car show with it.
Oh, is that how you introduced him to the car? Did you enter the car in the car show and you were like, hey, I got to show you something?
Yeah, I actually bought that car that was Logan Vitez's car, and Jay was to sell the car. He sold me the car. I actually stashed it in my uncle's garage for more than a year, And so, we put it in the car show in Hamburg, and me and my wife, my father-in-law, took him to the car show, and he walked up on the car, and there just happened to be, I can't think of it, the semi from Transformers. I can't think of the name of it, but
Optimus Prime.
Optimus
there
Prime.
You go.
So Optimus Prime is parked right behind this junior, and the kid walked up, and he was like, Dad, look at this truck. And I'm thinking, you're standing right next to your dragster, kid, and you don't even know it. But it was really exciting night, And that car's at that. When I first got it, I'm thinking, hey, it's a junior dragster with a lawnmower engine. How hard can this be?
Yeah.
Little did I know. Little did I know.
Now, how did he take to the junior dragster in year one?
To be honest with you, I think me and my wife were more nervous than he was. He wanted to smash the pedal and go, and he did really well. He took to it well. We took him up to Empire for his first time, and we took him to Lancaster, and honestly, both racetracks, I can't say anything bad. I mean, they are just very welcoming, go out of their way to make sure the kid's comfortable, do, whatever they can to make that kid comfortable and help you get your kid racing. Sharon, runs a great program at Lancaster and Empire. I mean, like I said, I got nothing bad to say. I mean, both tracks really do put a good program on, and all the families are great. Everyone is great. The kids are all great with each other. And, Colin has, Logan to look up to. And that's, which is a really cool deal for him. It's like Logan is the kid he looks up to, and Logan does great. I mean, the kid wins, and he's really focused, and I just, if Colin could pick up anything from him, that would be great,
So at this point, Colin is it 1390? Is that what the index is?
Right now, he is at 1190.
1190, okay. And so how long is he going to be at 1190, and is he already bugging you to go faster?
Of course he is. I don't know 100%, but I think it's 10 years old. They can go.
Okay.
They can go faster. Which the separation between him and Logan is going to work out well, because once Logan steps out of stuff, we can obviously purchase it from Jay, and he can step into the faster engine and stuff, But I mean, this car here should last him until he's 18, because the car is just, it is a really nice car. And Jay actually went through this car before we bought it, powder coated it, had it painted by Scott Jaron, and it's a really nice car,
And is Colin, I mean, I never bought my kids a junior dragster. I mean, I always said that, I would if they showed the interest, and, were really, let's call it bugging the crap out of me about, hey, I want to race a junior dragster. But my kids never went there. And there's certainly plenty of parents that I know that, drag racing parents that have bought their kids junior dragsters just to have them sit, because, kids really aren't all that interested. It sounds like Colin is all in.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, there's some parents that really want their kids to take it extremely serious, and I get that. But I mean, I understand he's 8 years old, and he's there with, Jay's kid and Kenny Jazz's kid, and there's other kids there that they're friends. And a part of being at the racetrack is having fun. And me, banging his head against the trailer, you got to stand by this car, you need to do this. There's he needs to be there and have fun, and that's what it's all about. I mean, even today we all go there. It's not just about racing; it's being with our friends. And to say that he's not
no. You have it all wrong. You're going out to the racetrack on the weekend. It's all about cutthroat racing. That's all I want to do is win and screw everybody else.
Well, I go there to have fun and be with my buddies and race in my car as a bonus. You know, I mean, it really is. I mean, the racetrack is full of a good group of people, and I mean, I'll call them the odd birds. They're there, but you know, I mean, the people I associate myself with, I think are all, you know, great people. I mean, I've met you at the racetrack a handful of times. We went camping together, and it's like, right. You know, we knew each other forever. It's just what the racetrack does, you know. But
and I will say, I've said before with juniors that you know, the junior dragster program really exists to do three things, and it's to teach sportsmanship, it's to make kids have fun, and to teach them the basics of drag racing. Right? Those are really the three reasons why the junior dragster program exists. And if you're not doing those three things, then you shouldn't be competing in the junior dragster program. And unfortunately, I will say that as a teenager, when my dad was racing, I was the epitome of the kid that didn't get it out at Lancaster. Winning was the most important thing to me. And it wasn't until I got older and after my dad had passed away that I realized that, look, my dad goes to Lancaster on a Friday night. Yeah, he wants to win. He wants to win like anybody else, right? But at the end of the day, this is about enjoying time away from work, doing something I enjoy, spending time with my friends. And as a teenager at the time, when I was at that age, I just didn't get it. To me, it was win or nothing. That's why we went to the racetrack. And yeah, now that I'm 50 plus years old, I can look and say, all right, let's assume that I go out to Lancaster or Empire and win. It's not that I'm not going to be proud of my accomplishment for that weekend, but in the grand scheme of things, who cares? I mean, okay, great. You won Lancaster or Empire for the weekend. It's like, we're not going to come and put a crown upon your head. It was, all right, yeah, congratulations, enjoy it for the week, but you really went there to do some racing, have some fun racing your car, enjoy the ride while you were in it. But more than anything, it was really just to have fun and enjoying the company and the other people that were out there. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't, you know, they forget that, and they really take it, in my opinion, to the extreme and just don't realize that, look, Lancaster on a Friday night, yeah, it's fun. Empire on a Saturday, yes, it's fun. It is not to the point where we should do anything just to win, screw our competitor, all the rest of it. These are the guys you're going to be out there racing with week in and week out, and go enjoy yourself and have fun. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what, again, me when I go racing, that's one thing I truthfully like about going to Empire. You know, some people don't really enjoy the whole day thing there. I do. I like being around my friends and being around people and just having a good time and enjoying a day of drag racing, right? And that's really what it's all about. And again, with my little guy, that's what we're pushing for, you know, with him, is just having some fun. And of course, everybody has that competitive nature about them. Absolutely. Everybody wants to win every round. And it's just, obviously it ain't reality, but regardless, just going out there and having fun. And it's, you know, it's like Michael Kalin tells me, it's all about the experience. You know, me and him drove all the way to Virginia and he lost first round. And I'm like, man, you know, you're taking this way better than me. And he goes, dude, I'm just here for the experience, you know, and he's right. I mean, you're there for, what is it? I mean, yeah, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants that big payday, but at the end of the day, you know, if you ain't having fun, why do it?
Yeah, and that I've had that conversation with so many people, you know, not only from a drag racing standpoint, but, you know, other, let's call it hobbies as well. And it really doesn't make a difference what it is. I mean, you know, again, let's just take drag racing. There's nobody paying us to be there. I don't have somebody that's forcing me to go to the racetrack. And I will say, my wife has asked me a couple of times. She's like, I'm not sure why you do this, because every time you do it, you come home and you're aggravated. And it's like, yeah, it is very aggravating, right? There is no doubt that it tests your patience. You go out there, your car's not working exactly the way you want. That's aggravating. You do something stupid. It's like, that's aggravating. So there's definitely lots of little things that can nitpick at you, but clearly at the end of the day, when you take a step back and you look and you're like, all right, and I'm sure you've seen the bumper stickers out there, right? The worst day at the racetrack is still better than the best day at work. I mean, I would take, I would clearly take a day at the drag strip that stunk compared to, going to actually work and, just selling automation components to, the local manufacturer. I mean, it's not a terrible gig that I have, but that's not what my passion is. My passion is the drag strip. And I love working on the cars and trying to get them to work better and be more consistent. And yeah, it's aggravating at times, but it's still enjoyable if you enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I do. And you know what, racing is a lot of fun. I mean, the last couple of years before the junior car kind of came around, I'd be by myself. My wife wants to go and, camping for the weekend. The kid goes camping with her for the weekend, and I'm by myself. But I mean, this junior car, I mean, it kind of brought my, us back together at the racetrack is what I should say. My wife's getting back into it with him, and it's fun. It really is. And, we got hockey all winter, and then racing in the summer and camping. Obviously, you've been there with us.
Yeah. When you were a kid, I mean, that's the thing I will say that my kids never got into it. My kids are too old to get into drag racing at this point. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll change their mind and become more focused on it. But my kids never got into the juniors. I remember being a teenager again, hanging out at the track with my dad on every Friday night, and I just really, really enjoyed that time. And if one of my kids came to me now and said, hey, I really have an interest in driving the car, I'd be more than willing to essentially at least share the seat. I'm not saying jump out of it completely, but share the seat with them and be a crew chief. I mean, when you were younger, did you spend time out at the track helping others as well?
No, I honestly didn't. I would go and watch. My parents owned a business, so that was their main focus. My dad going to the racetrack was kind of limited to like a Sunday Niagara or something along those lines. My Uncle Ernie was always involved with my dad's brother. My Uncle Ernie's still out there racing now. And then, my other Uncle Ronnie Watland, the Smuckles, I mean, I did hang with them. My Uncle Ernie, he got back into racing more recent, I'll say. I say recent, but 15 years he's been racing back at it now. But, I mean, of course, everyone took their time off, So when I did go to the track, I did know people there. But I didn't really go and help anybody per se, but I always had that want to be there. I wanted to go and race, you know what I mean? And I wanted it bad. And the juniors were there, but it was like, back then, Dad, I want a junior. Yeah, I want a lot of things too, Right. And, but that's kind of where it ended. I mean, my family had a business, and that's how they took care of me, my brother and sister, and that's what they did, and it's, it was unfortunate that, my dad passed away. And obviously me and you have had that conversation. Your dad passed away when you were young, and you have your uncle. And I'm fortunate enough to have my, my Uncle Ernie, Uncle Ronnie, and my Uncle Donnie. And, all them guys are into it heavy. So it's, I was always fortunate enough to have that. And that's awesome,
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I mean, from the helping standpoint, I will say, like I said, I always enjoyed helping my dad, even though I wasn't driving at the time. I always, and with Billy too. I mean, me and him have traveled all over, and I've helped Billy. And I am not a good spectator. I have a really hard time going out to the drag strip, even just Lancaster or Empire. Even though I know a lot of people just going out there and saying, "All right, I'm just going to hang out and watch." I don't do real well with that. But if you tell me, hey, you know what, you're going to go out to the drag strip and help Joe or help Billy or whoever, now I'm totally into it, and I have a lot of fun. And I could definitely see from a parent standpoint, I mean, how great would it be to be out there helping your kid run junior dragster, right?
Oh, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And it's like, like I said, we all have that competitive edge to us. Same thing with taking them to hockey. I mean, yeah, I want to see my kid go out there and score 60 goals a game, but, when you go out there, you want to see them win. And the tough part is they're racing kids that are, 15, 16 years old, and it's like, it's tough when they're young, I mean, and it's trying to keep them motivated, and hey, you gotta keep trying, and you'll get there, and again, that's what it leads me back to the Colin, favoring Logan. Logan's 10 years old, and I mean, he's out there taking on kids that have been doing this, 5-6 years longer than him, and they're 14, 15, 16 years old, and Logan's he just kills it, and that's why I say it's great for my son to have him to look up to, and hopefully Colin will follow in his footsteps in the next couple of years. He'll get his fair share of wins,
It is, like I said, it is really hard. Does Empire still race the A class and a B class? Is that how they still do it?
No, they mix them all in with each other. I guess in years past they did. I kind of only knew that because I was up there and I could hear them making the call.
Yeah.
But no, they mix all the kids in with each other. And again, like I said, I mean, the older kids, I will say they're very polite. They're very nice to, the younger kids. I mean, it's just it's an awesome situation. I mean, they're older kids and they could, how it is. You're a kid, you don't want to be bothered with a young guy. So, but they're very nice to him, very respectful, and it's a good deal,
Yeah, and I mean, overall, for the most part, it's like all the kids out there, all the families out there, they're all good people, and just like in drag racing in general, that always willing to you talk about big car, little car, doesn't make a difference. You go out there, you're having a problem, you go and you help somebody. If they come over and say, hey, I'm having some issues, can you possibly come help me out? It's like people will drop whatever they're doing to go help you. They'll loan you parts or whatever else. And that's the case with the juniors too. Like I said, for the most part, I would say Jeff Jackson is now saying to me, come out west, Jason, I need some help. And that is generally the case, right? It's like people are willing to help out whenever. And that's the nice thing about drag racing, that people that haven't been out there, haven't competed, they just don't understand that it's rare that you see that in a quote unquote competition, if you will, that someone's willing to help their competitor out as much as they are. But
for sure,
that's just how it is out at the racetrack.
Yeah, no, it is. And you know what, like, I have a lot of friends, and I'm willing to help anybody out, and I try to go out of my way for anybody, and just, if they help me, great. If not, well, it is what it is. And truly, I like, me personally, I love racing the cars, but man, for some reason, I like working on them more than I like. And last year, like I said, I did a little traveling with Mike Kalin, and it was just diving in and helping the guy work on his car and get his race. I mean, I never thought racing that car was so much work, but it is. And I look forward to doing a little bit more with him this summer, because it's just a different, like, it's just something different than racing locally. I've never really traveled or done anything like that, and it was a lot of fun to do that.
Now your car, I mean, your dragster you had was fairly fast. I mean, I know Mike Kalin's car, I mean, it runs close to 6.0s in the quarter. I mean, what was the fastest you ever went with Eddie Van Halen dragster?
That car, before I sold it, I think I went 466 at 150.
Yeah.
So I went. My father-in-law, when he had that Dan Page car, he let me play around with the nitrous stuff, and I used to race it at Lancaster with the nitrous, and we went up to Empire and made some good rips, and I went pretty fast in that car, much faster than mine, but it's always easier to beat up someone else's equipment, And that was like the perfect storm for me. He left with Mike Janis, because he obviously did his traveling with Mike Janis for quite a few years, and here he left me the keys to his dragster and his trailer, and it was like, man, to have that opportunity was killer. And it's like he'd leave and he'd say, hey, there's a handful of nitrous bottles in the trailer full, and the car's ready to go. And it was like, what more can you ask for? Right.
So I guess along those lines, I mean, do you think you'll be do you think that you're going to have the allure, excitement with the super gas Roadster? You think that'll keep you entertained? I will say Eric Macaroli, he had commented earlier, "Hey, welcome to super gas." Do you think that the ride will be enough to keep you interested, or the competition will be enough to keep you interested?
I'll tell you what, locally around here, there's a lot of good drivers, and I say that because you see these guys, they go out, travel the country, and you can see any one of these guys win at any given race. So here now, I'm going to try to race these guys, and I remember, when Tom Coonley and Maduri put that deal together at Empire, that hot rod deal last minute, I made a comment on Facebook to Tom Coonley, "Hey, can I race my dragster with you guys?" And he said, "Sure, the water's warm, jump in." Yeah. And I'm thinking, you know what? I don't care how warm that water is. You guys ain't embarrassing me, and that's a fact. I mean, you go up to Empire and watch, either the super rod deal or hot rod, and these guys are running this is on what's happening up there is, the race is basically on the tree. It's on the starting line. I mean, the cars, the way they run nowadays it's crazy, And again, I really feel that anybody who races around here locally can go anywhere and race and really win. I mean, we really have a good group of racers in this area that are just, you can just start naming names, and these guys literally go out and it's unreal what local guys do. So that's, for me, the excitement is trying to beat these guys, not as much, hey, going fast. Going fast is fun, and it's funny because when I bought the car, I talked to Mike about it. Gunther, I said, "Hey, how fast does this thing go?" He goes, "I don't know, 640 and 990." He told me, because here, that's my first question: is how fast is this damn thing going to go when we take it off the throttle stop? And he didn't know. So I look forward to, trying that. And I also really look forward to just doing the throttle stop racing thing, learning from my buddy Jay, and hopefully we can win some races with it and have some fun.
It's funny about the ET aspect of it, because the fastest that I've gone in my Corvette is like 934 at 144, and even that wasn't full out. That was still leaving the line on the chip at 5,000 RPM. So people ask me, it's like, how fast is your car? It's like, well, I don't know 100%. It's like, this was the fastest I've ever gone in it, but it's like 99.99% of the time that the car goes down the track, it's on the chip and it's on a throttle stop, right? So it's like, I don't really know how fast it would go if I took everything off and said, all right, let's just let it rip and see how fast it goes. It wouldn't be much faster than that. I mean, maybe a couple hundredths, but it's funny just from that aspect that you just don't know. And you're right about the competition in the area. I mean, it's not to say that I'm not gonna do the throwdown, if you will, that we have the best racers in the country. But when you look at the competition, the guys that race out at Empire, these are guys that have gone to national events and go to, let's call it, the middle of Texas, and be like, "Oh yeah, I lost to Doug Linden this week." They'd be like, "Who? Never heard of him. Oh, he must suck." It's like, "Oh, you think he sucks, huh? Yeah. Well, let's see you race Doug Linden and see how well you do." He's a world champ, I believe, isn't he? Doug, actually, Doug was, he was a world champ. He was a IH area world champ. Tough competitor for sure. And there's a bunch of them out there competing for sure. And I think from that standpoint, you're probably not, I mean, I wish you the best of luck in 2021, but my guess is you're probably not going to come out to Empire or Lancaster every week and walk home the victor every single week, right? There's a lot.
I'm going to give it a good shot, I'll tell you. I'm going to give it a great shot. And you know what? I to be honest with you, I feel like I bought the best money can buy right now in my position. I think I bought a great car. I bought a proven car. I bought a car that Jennifer won a lot with. And she did a lot of racing with that car. And honestly, that car, when I first looked at it, it looked brand new. I didn't think the car ever. I mean, the family really meticulously takes care of their stuff. And, funny story is, quick story, when I walked in and I first looked at the car, Vita said to me, why don't you get in the car to make sure you fit? And I said, I will fit in that car. No matter what the case is, I will fit in that car, I thought to myself, and but yeah, I really, the family selling me the car, I really appreciate it, because we know that they didn't have to sell the car. They ultimately they did not have to sell that car. I'm grateful that they sold me the car. I just look forward to racing with Jay, and you never know, we might get my wife back out there racing in it.
Yeah,
So,
I will say, I mean, I would never hesitate to buy a piece from the Gunther family. Everything that they own is top notch, and I mean, I have to say, the Nova that Jennifer runs, I absolutely love that car. I can't say that I would sell my Corvette to own it, but I mean, that is a absolutely beautiful, beautiful car. Love the fact that it's a small block as well. But yeah, everything that the Gunther family owns is a nice piece, and the Roadster that you just bought is certainly another example of that, and I wouldn't hesitate to buy anything from them for sure.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever met them. I always yeah, I never really met them. I always said hi to them kind of in passing, never. But I'll tell you, I mean, I went there and they were just getting ready to leave for Virginia, and I mean, they were kind of loading the trailer, and they made time for us, and just what a nice family. I mean, they welcomed us in, and just such a nice family. And and honestly, it's cool. I got to just make another connection. And that was the first time like I said, I ever met was Mike and Rhonda, and that was the first time I ever even talked to Jennifer, and she was kind of like in and out, and they have like, I guess, like a long history with Jason where I guess. I don't know how they used to race with Vitas or whatever the connection was there, but I mean, the history went back. I could just in their conversation, and he gave us the tour of the shop, and they got a beautiful shop, and I absolutely love Matt's race car. That car is like
crazy.
That car, I mean, that's a beautiful car. And even Jennifer's new car, that thing is just. They meticulously take care of everything. I mean, their cars literally look like they don't race them, and we know that they do.
Oh yeah, and that is the crazy thing, is like I said, they do compete. These are not show cars that they have. They go out and race them at the track as much as they can, and just beautiful pieces, and like I said, I mean, just a great family overall.
Yeah, for sure.
I've known Mike and Rhonda for a long, long time. They used to race Super Gas with us out at Lancaster, in the early mid '80s, along with Mike Maston, and just a great family. Really like them a lot. So you said you didn't have a lot to talk about. So here we are at an hour and 4 minutes in. I told you I'd be able to get you to talk for an hour.
You were right.
So, we talked about helping people, and, I have to say that that's your job on a daily basis, right?
Yes. I actually sold my business. I don't have it no more. So you obviously probably
did not know that.
Yeah, no, I got September of 2019, I got out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was time. It took to own a tow truck and to try to expand one of them companies. I did it for 6 years, and we were successful, but it takes up 24 hours of your day, and it's to the point where you'll be out to dinner and you got to go, and it's just not. Just got you have to weigh your options. It's not fair to your family. It's no way. Of course, we had a lot of benefits from it. It was great. We did well, but it's just it got to the point where it's not fair to them. And my wife always wanted hey, can we go out of town and do something? And it's like, she could see it in my face. Here, I'm sitting there worried about what's going, the work I'm losing and not enjoying time with her. And it just got to be too hard. And that's why it had to end. And, one door closed, another one opened. I work for my family now, and, I got back into, I'm a mechanic again, working on cars. And I work for the Smuckles. I work at Smuckle Performance now. And It's actually a really cool deal. I'm with my family, and my aunt's there, and she brings me coffee in the shop in the morning. And my uncle absolutely puts no pressure on you. He appreciates the help, and it's a different ordeal for me because they're just they work on Subarus. They're a small little Subaru dealer, as I call it.
Okay.
And we have customers anywhere from the southern tier all the way to Rochester that come to us. And my uncle and both of my cousins, my uncle's retired from the dealer now, but both of my cousins still work 3 days a week at the dealer. And that's all we do is Subaru. So a learning curve for me because I'm used to working on anything.
Yeah.
It's just this. But I really enjoy it. The work is just the work, but being with family is what I enjoy the most, is what I should say,
And I can certainly see that. And I know that owning the tow truck and stuff like that, and what you were doing was really tough on you. Like you said, being on call like you were, it was just a really, really tough gig. And actually, when I messaged you earlier today, you didn't respond immediately. And I'm like, oh, well, who knows what's going on, right? I mean, it could be on the side of the road someplace trying to help somebody. And I didn't even know. But yeah, I mean, my guess is that from a family standpoint, working with your family business and being able to work, somewhat regular hours is probably a heck of a lot nicer for you and your family. Not to mention that you're actually working with your family in the family business. That's got to be super.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's just making plans and doing things and not, and honestly, like I said, it was just really hard to find people to work for you. And it just got to the point where I knew it was time, it was time to move on. And honestly, I didn't know that I was going to go do this. It just kind of, my uncle was in the same boat. Can't find anyone reliable to work for me. Hey, why don't you come help me out for a little bit? And here we are. It's been, honestly, it's been about 1.5 years now. So it's like time flies. And I hope to get out to the racetrack with them and some of their race cars this summer because they have a fleet, but they're where I was, and it's hard for them to get away.
So clearly, if you need a Subaru in the Buffalo area, definitely make sure you stop by Smuckle Subaru, right?
Smuckle. Yeah, we do anything from maintenance to selling them, and like I said, we have customers as far as that come from Rochester and the southern tier, and we always have a bunch of them for sale. And as far as maintenance goes, there's nothing we can't do because we got the Subaru experts at the shop. And my cousin Donnie is actually very, very sharp. My cousin Paulie, my uncle, he's been retired now for quite a few years, so he kind of lays off. But my cousins are really, really knowledgeable when it comes to them,
I'm sure there might be somebody watching as well that might be a Subaru performance guy. I mean, was it the STIs, right? So
yes.
Certainly if you wanted to do some performance Subaru stuff, it sounds like you guys might be a good place to go.
Yeah, we are. And we do anything from just, like I said, change your oil to, guys blow the motors up in them constantly, and we got short blocks ready to go and cylinder heads.
So other than the Subaru dealer, it's like anybody else that obviously we've talked about Jason Vitez and Vitez race cars quite a bit, but anybody other than those guys that you'd want to thank or give a shout out to while you're here?
I got, the guys at Janssen, they always take care of me. Mike and his kid are just top-notch people. Obviously, I've always used a Bruzy for the transmission stuff. I don't even know what kind of who built the transmission in this Corvette because I didn't ask. I'm sure it's a quality piece, like everything they have, but I have, obviously my wife, my son, and, all my family, man. Everyone just, is, this stuff to go away and race for the day and not go and do what the family wants to do and they don't really complain. That's a lot. And my wife, she complains here and there. But for the most part, everything's good. And like I said, she did make mention that she does want to try driving the Roadster. And we'll see if me and Jason let her.
You got to give her the opportunity at least once, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, she's capable. There's no doubt. I have to say, I mean, if I was a lady, I'd be like, you're just scared that she's going to show you guys up, right?
No, you know what? No, she beats up on me pretty good. Her and Mike Kalin both beat up on me pretty good. So if she wants to drive someone's race car, she can go drive his.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to, I guess, cover before we let you go?
No, man, I'm happy. Like I said, I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's a cool deal. And anybody who sat here and listened to us bicker for an hour, thanks for listening in.
Well, we got at least a dozen people watching live. So this is after an hour and 11 minutes. So you've been able to entertain a bunch of people here through an entire hour. So we appreciate you coming on, and certainly we'll make sure that we catch up with you in sometime mid 2021 and see how things are going. And
just quick, what are your plans for the Super Rod series up at Empire? I'm just out of curiosity. Do you have some plans put together yet, or
really we're going to go there right now?
Well,
yeah, absolutely. So actually we have 5 races currently on the schedule. I know that Empire released their schedule, and I need to talk to Jerry actually, because they printed the schedule and there are some omissions there, unfortunately. But we basically have 5 races on the schedule, one for every month: May, June, July, August, and September. So I think the first race is Memorial Day. I think it's Memorial Day weekend. It might be the weekend before Memorial Day, but so end of May, and then it's literally almost like 4 weeks to the day. End of May, end of June, end of July, end of August, and then mid-September. We do have 5 races scheduled. And like I said, I did hear that the schedule got released, and I've been too busy at work this week, unfortunately, to go follow up with Jerry, but I need to hit him up, because my understanding is that there was only 2 races on the schedule, and we have a lot more committed to 2021 than just 2 races.
Well, I'm going to ask you, if you could, just print one of them trophies with Jason Vitez's name on it, because he's taken at least one of them.
All right. I will. I will hold you to that. The other thing too, I will say, is that for anybody that's listening that's looking to do some index racing, Randy Jewell, and I apologize, Randy, if you're watching the series that Randy races. They have the 650 index class that they're racing as well. So they're a 5/10 Pro Tree 650 index, and he has said that he would allow people with electronics to run the class. Now you have to zero everything out, but he's not going to make you take the electronics out of the car, because he realizes that for a lot of these cars like ours, if the electronics are critical to being able to easily run them, let's call it on a weekly basis. So as long as you're willing to zero everything out, he's willing to let you run too. So you should have some opportunity to run Randy Jewell's series as well in the 650 class. So keep that in mind too.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you this summer, Jason.
Hey, yeah, definitely looking forward to it, Joe. Keep in touch. And like I said, we'll definitely touch base with you sometime mid-season, just to see how things are going.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, guys. See you later.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
All right. There goes Joe checking in for a little bit on transferring over to the Super Rod competition. And we hear that Western New York Super Rod Association has 4 dates over at Empire Dragway. So looking forward to more information on that one next week. We are going to be back in the studio, and we've got another Zoom planned for Rob Keister, talking a little bit about what he's got going on for. He's got some news that he wants to share, so we'll be catching up with him. So we look forward to doing that. And then Jason's working on some other avenues too, so we might have a couple different folks hanging out with us in the chat. We appreciate all the shares and the likes and the views out there. We should appreciate that as well to all the folks in the live chat, but I think that is going to do it for us here for this evening. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, we're back here again next Thursday with the show with Rob Keister going to be joining us. We're looking forward to it. We'll see you then. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.